All right, Keith and I are back for a second episode of this thing we still haven't named. Wardrobe change. uh, I think, or were we supposed to pretend it wasn't the same day? I don't know. I guess we can on the next one. Um, but yeah, so we're going to talk about the first track off the Dump Truck demo. On my screen, it looks like the background is backwards and the words are opposite of what they're supposed to be. Keith says it looks normal, so we'll see how it comes out on the recording. But we're just learning how to do this right now, and we'll do the best we can.
Baby
Uh,
steps.
do you were you going to shows when Dump Truck started?
No, they were wrong side
It was
already by
okay.
the
They were
time I
already the
was.
wrong side. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, they were an offshoot of Mental. Like Mental was playing. We my band Drug Test at the time did a lot of shows with Mental, even though we had a Mental diss track. Um, but and then Dump Truck was what I was told, and I don't know if this is even really the truth, but these were like throwaway Mental songs. And they said, "Hey, Morgado, sing over these." Is that what you remember hearing too?
Actually, yeah, yeah.
I
I
think
forgot
later
about
on they
that.
wrote specific wrong side songs, but this demo I think were just songs Mental wasn't going to use, right?
Yeah.
So they
I
became the
believe
wrong
so.
side, and but I remember my roommate Captain. Uh, we had this demo, and I mean, actually, no, we didn't actually have the tape yet. I think there was an MP3 out of just this song, Sucker Punched, and we list. It's like 30 seconds. We
Yeah.
must have listened to that 250 times in a row. I mean, for days, that's all we listened to. We're like, this is the best song in hardcore. Like current hardcore, nothing better than this. So I was glad
I love that.
you brought this one up. Is this what you brought up, or did I just replace it?
No, I brought it up
Okay, cool. I was like,
honestly
wait a
because
minute. I don't remember him actually saying sucker punch. I just remember him saying dump truck.
I remember you telling me stories about it, and I was like, this would be great for the world to hear.
Yeah, it's
And I
funny.
also
Like,
love dump truck. So
yeah, I mean, I love this band, and honestly, I liked Mental too. But what was going on in kind of the Boston scene at the time, from what I saw, was just like all these college kids coming in and just trying to imitate. We were That's what we wrote in the Drug Test song. I think the lyrics were like copying that style like a two-bit hack, something like that. But we were basically all these kids were like imitating like a very specific period of New York hardcore, like Outburst and that kind of stuff. And
underdog.
Raw Deal. They're the type of kids that said, "I don't call Killing Time Raw Deal," or "I don't call Killing Time. I call them Raw Deal." Those types of kids. Yeah,
Yeah.
Underdog was definitely one. Super Touch. They were just really trying to emulate these bands, and that's fine. We all rip each other off, right? But like it just seemed like a disingenuous thing. And I think it's to some extent not the people in the bands. I'm not saying this about the people in the bands, but the kids around it. I think they came and went pretty quick. A lot of these people stood the test of time. I still see Morgado when I go out to shows still.
Hmm.
But I think there was a scene around it that we just kind of thought was a little cheesy and hacky. And we were young in our early 20s, so we just talk shit on everybody. We were shit stirrers in New Hampshire. It's just the way we were. What was the first time you heard this?
All right. So when I got into hardcore, um, I pretty quickly gravitated towards like the whole locking out stuff. Righteous Jams was still a band. Mental was like at the tail end of being a band. Um, I remember like they were still playing Boston, but at the time I didn't have ways to get out there, and I wasn't into them as much, like as I would be like a year later. But the one of the dudes I hung around with listened to a lot of locking out stuff and turned me onto it, and I fucking loved it all. That specific New York hardcore you were referring to, that pocket, I also love. Even to this day, it's like my literally my favorite like era of hardcore ever.
It's great. If
So
you're gonna rip something off, it's a great thing.
yeah,
But also, I just want to see people be themselves too. It'd
yeah,
be influence, not completely trying to be the same person that they were in 1986 or whatever, 87, 89. I don't know what it was, but
yeah. But
that's kind of
like
my thought.
so like that's like I love that, and I like the locking out because it was like you said, it was like they were drawing influence from that era of hardcore, and I thought that was at the time I thought that was so cool. and you know,
Well, that
some
active era of bands, like whenever you're a kid getting into hardcore, is always the coolest. It's always going to be the coolest one to you. That's always going to be the most
oh
important to
yeah.
you. It doesn't matter what the history is. That's the most important. And I was still young, but I think I had already kind of jaded myself a little bit by the time these bands started picking up steam.
Mhm.
And to this day, like now, I'm like, oh, those are some of the greatest bands, of Boston ever. Was that era, that early Locking Out era? But at the time, I was just like, look at these fools, like being a real jaded prick about it when I had no business being a jaded prick yet. But this dump truck demo and this song specifically were amazing, and let's take this opportunity to listen to it right now. Did I share my screen already, though, is the question. Um, that is not the correct one. I think I just shared my desktop. We can edit some of this stuff out if we need. How do I get back in the window? Maybe we'll just leave it in so everybody can see. Anybody can make a podcast. You don't have to know what you're doing. All right. It was, yeah, no, I'm doing some editing now because, all right.
Yo, listen up.
Oh, accidentally. Could you hear that?
I could, yeah.
Oh, weird. Oh, probably because I'm sharing my whole. I get it now. I can't find the specific window I want to share. All right, I'm just going to share the whole thing and see what happens.
Yo, listen up. This is another Rockin' Out exclusive. Get ready for Dump Truck. Dump Truck. You think that you know, but what you know is nothing. The lies you've been told, and the lies that I've been telling. Busted.
Dude, I still want to hit somebody. I mean, like instantly I'm ready to mosh. Like, and I don't do that anymore. It is just so that breakdown there is so heavy. And I would love, I was just thinking, I'm like, who in mental said, no, that's not good. I'm not going to do that song. Like, did the band write it? And then Greg was like, I don't want to write lyrics for that. Like,
I'm
what
kind of
happened?
curious. I'm gonna
Yeah,
find out. I'm
I
gonna find out
actually,
after this episode.
yeah, well, I actually,
I can find it right now,
I
actually.
saw Greg last year, unfortunately, because it was at Jimmy Flynn's funeral or wake. We were in line together the whole time, waiting to greet his family and all that. I don't know anything about funerals, so I don't know what the official terminology for what was going on is, um, but it was neat because it's like we're both old dads now, and living kind of parallel lives. But I remembered a story while I was listening to that. So when I went to find this, it's not on regular streaming services, so I had to go to YouTube. And when I went to find it, some video came up of Posse Numbers Fest. I think it was 04,
Hmm.
03 or yeah, 04. And that was when we had, maybe it was 03. Now that I think about it. Anyway, we had drug test demos, and we had the song on there called Locked Out, which was kind of making fun of the scene around Locking Out Records. And my friend Ditch, um,
Shout
from
out to Ditch.
I can't think of any Ditch's bands now. He's in a different one like every week, it seems like, but probably not. He's probably been in these years. I'm just so disconnected from it. But yeah, the Ditch was outside. We were like hawking demo tapes at the door while Mental was playing, and like a kid walks out and he goes, "Hey, you don't like Mental?" And the kid was like, "Yeah, not really." He's like, "Oh, good. This band hates Mental." I was like, "Don't say that. We don't hate them. Like we play with them all the time." Josh was booking them back then. But it
Mhm.
was kind of funny because we were clowning a little bit on the scene around them. But it was in good fun. I remember. Do you remember Jason Barrow? Do you know him at all?
I don't
I was
think
trying to
so.
think of what his band was. He had a band that I think came out on Locking Out. one
I'm
of the
so bad at
lesser
names.
known ones. But I remember he was like, I'm working on the rebuttal track. Like we were gonna be second reference to this in 2 episodes, but he's like, basically, we're gonna be the Kendrick and Drake of that era. But it never, the rebuttal never came out. I wish it did.
Dude, we need more of that in hardcore. We
I
need some
don't think
beef.
so. I
Yeah.
don't think we need to create more beef in hardcore. I think
No.
hardcore does just fine on its own creating beef.
I'm gonna write,
Um,
I'm gonna write a diss song
I mean,
about you.
somebody's going to be mad at me for something I say just in one of these episodes, I'm sure. So hardcore doesn't need any help getting mad about things. Um,
That's
so this is a song lyrically. I know the last episode I focused very much on the lyrics. But
hmm
this is one, and I didn't print them this time. We're already screwing up. Second episode's already screwing up my prep work. Um, but I don't even know what it's about. Honestly, I don't know. You think that you know what you know is nothing. I mean, that I get it. It's like people judging, but they don't know. But it's kind of, it's good lyrics, but they're not super poignant. They're not super like, you don't instantly connect with it and know what he's talking about. But the music's just so good.
he
What are
was
your
probably
thoughts
just
there?
like he was probably just like because I've done this. Like, all right, oh, I need lyrics. Just let's just spitball it, and then just came up with it right on the spot.
Yeah,
You know,
just freestyling.
it sounds cool. It's catchy. It
Yeah.
rhymes. You know,
Yeah, I think, I mean, yeah, sometimes you get caught up with the rhyming. I remember doing that a lot when I did Ignorance, was like, I need to rhyme something. And like, you just end up with this dumb lyric, but then like, you don't realize it's dumb for a while. Ignorance had this song about, I was like criticizing all the photographers that are always on the stage at every show, quote unquote photographers. And it's like,
hmm
I put in the liner notes, no disrespect to Todd Pollock or the Reverend. Um, Both of those guys are great. Todd used to print the pictures of your band and bring you printed copies to the show and give them to you.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool. Nowadays, I don't know what happens to his pictures. He posts like one a year. Um, but Aaron's always, he's always had everything, hundreds, thousands of pictures, like weekly. And it's great. I'm so grateful to have all those memories that I wouldn't have otherwise, especially pre cell phone and pre video of everything. Like, we didn't take pictures. If he wasn't there with his camera, there'd be no record of so much of that stuff. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, I wrote a song though, like, just because you'd have 50 photographers on the stage, and they'd have all these artistic like versions of their photos with all these streaks and whatnot. I just always, again, I was a jaded prick. um and so I wrote this song, and one of the lyrics was, if what you do is called art, then I'm starting a museum because I've got a fart. I was saying it's going to be a fart museum. It's the dumbest lyric ever, but I was like, what rhymes with art? Oh, a fart. Johnny Limit, because he put out that Ignorance record. He was in the studio just begging me. He had alternative, like 6 or 7 alternative lyrics he wanted me to use. And he was begging me, please don't record that fart thing. I think he hates it to this day, honestly.
You're like, nope, I'm going with it.
Yeah, no,
Final answer.
I have this thing where it's like, you tell me not to do something, I'm probably doing it. I mean, that's just the way. I think that's probably all of us in hardcore have that thing. Um,
Rebellious mentality.
Do you remember the first time you saw The Wrong Side then?
I don't.
I was trying to think back, and I can like picture shows, but I don't know if they were Wrong Side shows, if they were Dump Truck shows, if they were just mental shows where they hopped up and played the songs.
I know it was maybe remember when Youth of Today played Connecticut at the with Rude Awakening played too, actually. I believe.
Youth of Today, you said?
Yeah, Connecticut.
I've still never seen Youth of Today, and it never really interested me to see them, in
Uh,
our era. I never felt like that was a band I wanted to see, as a reunion type show.
I remember the Wrong Side played that because I was losing my shit, but there could have been a show before that I seen them, and I just can't recall it. It'll probably hit me like later tonight. But the first one I can remember right now is them playing Connecticut with Youth of Today. I feel like I had to have seen them before that, but
The one that I think the first time I saw him was at the Cambridge Elks. And the I don't know if it was actually a booked dump truck show or
mhm.
if they just had hopped up on a mental set. And then but I have a very clear memory. I think it might have been shortly after the name changed to Wrong Side.
Hmm.
Um, but it was Posse Numbers '03, which was a big warehouse. Agnostic Front was one of the headliners. I think Terror was one of the headliners, of course. Um, and I remember, I think he had this big long chain that he was just swinging over the crowd. I think we talked about it before we started recording. That there's like an iconic photo of him like with that chain, yeah, and it's just it was always cool imagery with them, you know. Just and I never, you know, I never felt like that thing I was talking about with the kind of emulating or poser ripping off type thing. I never felt like that was Chris Morgado or any of those guys in the band.
Hmm.
You know, it was the people that the fans, the kids that were around it, coming to Boston for college and, you know, doing their 4 years. I mean, it's almost some of these hardcore kids coming to Boston, I think it's almost like doing their time in the military. You know, they're like in and out. You never see them again after they're done with after they get their I can't even think of any of the schools. Once they get their degree from BU, they're gone. You know, a lot of these kids. And then
Tourists.
Taurus, yeah, yeah. And I like I almost feel guilty like talking that way since I'm not even part of it anymore. Anyway, I go to like 2 shows a year, but I did my time.
That just kind of happens with every major city. New York's another one.
Yeah,
It happens.
I feel like New York has a little bit. I mean, it's like what 20 times the size of Boston population wise, but I feel like it has more of its own culture that kind of sticks around than Boston tends. I mean, there's just nowhere to live in Boston. Like Boston proper is there's not much to it. I mean, most of the people we think of as Boston guys are, you know, South Shore, you know, Brockton, that area, or Quincy, or a lot of kids from like Medford and Malden and all those areas. Like the living in Boston is not something a lot of people do. It's just, you know, that I always think of Alston as like just a giant college dorm, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
But I mean, there's a few true, you know, lived in Boston, but it's, you know, like anything else. I'm in Bow, New Hampshire. I still call myself a Manchester guy. I mean, it's, you know, all those suburbs and all those other areas are, it's still Boston. They have every right to call themselves Boston bands, um but
That's true.
I think New York City is like truly a lot of people who are New York City. I mean, there's just, you're getting in and out of there now, especially now with the friggin' the toll. If you go below Central Park in Manhattan, you get a toll no matter what street you enter on. It's like $7 or something
Yeah,
each
but
way.
one of my least favorite things in the world is driving to New York City for anything. Like I like what I'm going to, but I don't like
Yeah,
the act of going there.
yeah, yeah. I mean from here, you know, 93 to 495 to 290 or to 90 to 290 to 84 to 95. That drive I've done so many times. I just want to hang myself every time.
Swinging from the
Oh,
hangman's
I
noose
was gonna say,
over
is there
my
a noose
neck.
here? Yeah. Yeah. I forgot what the cover was. I was picturing the noose is on the cover of that first Wrong Side record, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah, man. I don't know. It's a 30-second song. There's not a whole lot to pick apart.
it's
We had
it's a iconic, legendary fucking
Yeah,
intro. You know,
of our era, of our contemporaries. I mean, this is probably a top 10 song for me, honestly. And like I said, I would listen to it hundreds and hundreds of times in a row. It was this, and around similar time was the Hammer Bros demo, and that was just a 2 song demo.
hmm
Um, shit, what the hell's the name of that song? A New Beginning. A New Beginning was the first song on that, and then All the World's a Stage was the second one, which I think that was called My Playground, actually, if I remember right. But around that same time, it was like those 2 demos. I mean, it's like a total of 4 minutes of music, but we that was all we listened to for so long because they were just both so good. We'll have to do Hammer Bros on one of these. Um,
yeah, definitely.
I think that sums it up pretty well. I didn't set a timer this time, like I said I was going to. It just said we're running out of time, which means I think that means we're 30 minutes in, you know, with our setup time. So, got anything else to add, Keith?
No, I just want to say, um, Dump Truck's awesome. You know, Sucker Punch is awesome. That style of hardcore is kind of made its return pretty heavily right now, which is cool.
Yeah, I feel like I've
So
seen in my time, I mean, 1998 is when I started. It was super metal in the late 90s, and especially I was in Maine, so we were always like, there was kids that went to Boston and kept up, but like for the people who didn't leave Maine, we were always a couple years behind.
Yeah.
So like to me, like I watched it cycle, from metal back into like all, straight edge hardcore became popular again. And then back into, in recent years, these bands have gotten really chuggy, a lot of them. And now I think we're starting to see kind of the resurgence. It's funny because a lot of them are all the same people.
Yeah.
It's people, just kind of have an eclectic taste and like, okay, I want to do a band that sounds this way. I was on the last episode, I was wearing the Haywire shirt. I think I usually don't like bands that are a little bit all over the map with
Hmm.
style, but I think they do it the right way with like, they really do have a variety of style and borrow from influences through all the years.
Hmm.
And it's
And
really
it
neat.
works.
It's really neat. I mean, it obviously works. They're one of the biggest bands now.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think we'll wrap it up on Sucker Punch. Um, Hopefully nobody thinks I was talking shit on everybody. I love everybody that I still connect with, and all the people that were in these bands were great people. But I was a prick back then, so I had to talk about it. All right, we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.
Later.